Welcome to On the Hill Podcast.
All right, and we're back on the hill.
Back on the hill.
All right, so we've kind of, let me do a quick intro. So we've had like a hiatus from the show for a little bit because we had our first grandson last Saturday, March 2nd.
Congratulations.
Thanks, brother.
Pretty exciting.
I know. Well, I can't say first time uncle because Frankie's sister had a baby.
Oh, okay.
But first blood nephew, I was.
Okay.
Yeah. So, not like we had an outcrying of like, where's the show? But a very important guest did ask where was the show. Colonel Roller. So when a colonel asks you a question, you got to get back on the ball here. So, anyway, so we, I put it, I've said this many times, but in life, God's light, whatever your higher power will shine on you, and a birth of a grandson, man, that's the highest power in the world right there, man.
Yeah.
That was pure joy, man. So anyway, maybe one day we'll have him on here, man. He won't be able to talk, but we'll just have him pointing and stuff.
You can have, there you go. He'll have something to say. Yeah. You can rest assured. Yeah. You can rest assured.
But yeah, I think so many people look for purpose, and and you're a parent too. And we need to introduce you too, but I'm sorry about that. But yeah, once you see that, and I think even within the first week, our daughter already sees what the impact of being a parent is instantaneously.
Right.
That kind of instant love, man, because she's like, I think I kind of get this now.
Yeah. Tommy too.
Yeah, and the father, a great guy. Yeah. All right, so we have a special guest with us again, man. Another special guest, Mr. Skip Choate, man. Welcome to the.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, welcome to the hill, man.
Been a couple of minutes.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So I'll let Eric kind of go into it, but I just want to say is, the purpose of the show is really people's stories and things that they've overcome in life and their influence on other people. And I think that's the most important thing in life is what can you do to help other people at many different levels. And you're a retired music teacher, school teacher. So I don't think there's any higher calling than that as a profession.
It meant a lot to me for sure. Getting to work with kids like your son and your daughter both, and
yeah. So I got
still keeping in track with keeping up with them and what they're doing, even as adults.
It's full circle, man.
It's really rewarding.
What is crazy about it is like if it wasn't for social media, there's positive and negatives. The positive is you get to see other people and how they live after you quote unquote grow up because. You met Eric. I think he was in seventh grade.
Seventh grade. Yep.
Because Carver Middle, there was Mr. Shefflin was my sixth grade.
Right.
And then you came my seventh and eighth grade.
Right.
Year.
Then they opened Davis and Tomahawk on the other end of the county. And Mr. Shefflin went down there. And
that's where my band life started.
Yeah.
With the trumpet.
And
you're also fellow
trumpet player.
That's wild.
And then Megan, she was flute just a year after me. Yeah. Flute. She was flute. So you had her first year then.
I did. Yeah. Got her started.
But I always made it a point after the show, and we're kind of jumping ahead, but I always wanted to, come shake your hand and say thank you. And I never knew. I knew you were putting in the work. I'm kind of jumping ahead here because Eric ended up being a music teacher too. But so, that was a hell of an influence you had on him.
That was cool to see. That you went on with that.
Yeah,
and that it touched you that deeply. And
it did.
Yeah,
and I remember you always tell the story when I was in the beginning of high school or going up into marching bands. I said I wanted to help people, and I'm going to do it through music, and that was my idea going into VCU and.
Right,
getting trained to be music ed,
right,
which was all. I look back at it now, and it was like some of the hardest times of school, and you're playing nonstop, and you put
all those classes that only count for about 1 hour in music, and you ask them why do I have a 2-3 hour course that only gives me an hour credit, and they're like, well, because. To give you a music degree, we have to give you all these courses, and that's way more hours than there's actually time for. So we just say that it's less.
Cram it in.
It's like, well, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's special.
Yeah, it's like you get into 8 a.m. strings class, and all right, well, the next 2 months, you're going to be learning the cello and the bass, and you have a recital at the end. It's like
that's wild. Yeah, I don't think people realize how much work goes into it. I mean, you think about a music like, what is a music degree? But to me, as an outsider looking in, I knew what it meant to have an arts degree. And VCU has a pretty good program. I mean, they have a great program.
Arts program.
Yeah, I mean,
across the board.
Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah, I shouldn't have said pretty good. It's actually great. And but what it does is you tap into parts of your brain that some people never even get a chance to know about because they limit themselves with either like my dad, my real dad, didn't really listen to music that much. I was like, man, you're missing out, man.
Yeah,
but how about but other than just listening to it, how about being a musician that plays it? Mm-hmm. That's the whole nother level. So
before you came, he got a little acoustic electric for Christmas.
Nice.
So testing that one out, little Yamaha.
Yeah, it's just mid range, but
I was plucking on it, and then you were starting to play something. I was like, what about Driver 8 REM song?
REM, nice.
And he just started. It's just crazy how your brain, just remembers stuff.
Well, I saw the picture as I walked in, your graduation picture with the trumpet,
with the trumpet
and the guitar.
Yeah. I mean,
if you look too, I forgot my mouthpiece that day. So
I did notice that. Wow. I had seen it, on social media, and I hadn't noticed that then. But I noticed looking at the picture. I'm like, he doesn't have a mouthpiece.
Isn't that crazy? The stuff
that fell out of my room that day, and I was like, dang it. Megan's like, because Megan took the picture. She was like, no one's going to notice. I was like, somebody's going to notice.
Yes. Well, you made it look good though. You had the embouchure still right there on the. I looked close and I was like, there's no mouthpiece there. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty. Yeah, that shows you what
20C
shows you as a professional, as you guys are the professionals, and that I never even noticed that on the trumpet. But I would have noticed something about unfortunately a gun or something. The safety's on or some craziness
It's just whatever your
expertise is in.
Right.
Yeah.
But, all right, so let's kind of back up a little bit. So, I guess we'll start with the very beginning. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up here in Richmond.
Really?
Yep. I was born in Henrico, and went to school Henrico schools, and graduated from Douglas Freeman.
Okay. Yeah.
And went down to North Carolina for college.
What college?
East Carolina University down in Greenville.
EC.
And that was where my band director my senior year was from East Carolina. So I'd never heard of it before then, but he introduced it to me or introduced me to it, and went down there and checked it out. And it was a big music ed school.
Wow!
It had gotten started as a teachers' college. A normal school is what they used to call them. It was a 2-year teachers' school, and then it became a full 4-year teachers' college. And anyway, had to go down there and meet a girl from Henrico High School. So my wife had grown up in Henrico, also on the other end of the county.
That's awesome.
And met her, and we came back to Richmond and started teaching out in Powhatan. Taught there for 2 years, and then moved over to Chesterfield.
So she's a teacher too?
She is not. She was music ed when I met her, and then she worked a band camp one summer for a school down in North Carolina that at the time was in the running for Grand National Championship. They were one of the best bands in the nation.
What school?
Rocky Mount High School,
Rocky Mount,
North Carolina. And she worked there one summer and said, "This is not for me."
Wow.
And she said, "I will not make it long before I say or do the wrong thing in the classroom." Right. So she came back and got a minor in business and graduated with one of the first music business degrees that East Carolina put together back in the day when they were just starting to do that.
Yeah. Now, did you know each other before you went to ECU, East Carolina, or?
We had met at District Band one time. Which I remember and she doesn't, but
that's the name of the story, man.
Yep, that's how it went. But
wow, that's awesome.
We had met then, and in fact, I walked into the music building my freshman year and saw her sitting over in the lobby, and immediately remembered
that's the all district girl
who she was. And I said, I'm gonna get to know her.
That's smart. Yeah,
I almost got left. taking too long to ask for a ride home for Christmas that year. And everybody was slowly, they did their juries and had their exams, and they were disappearing. And I almost got down to the end of the wire before I got up the nerve to ask her, because I knew she was from Richmond and I knew she had a car. So I was like, all right, I'm going to ask for the ride home. And anyway,
The rest is history.
the rest is history. That's right, 100%.
So, I mean, was it like, what did she say? You're like, hey, can I get a ride back to Richmond?
I asked her, and she was like, yeah, let me double check. Well, actually,
There we go. That's what I want to know.
no, wait a second. She did not have a car yet. But she was going home with her roommate who did have the car. That's what. Anyway, I got the ride home for Christmas.
That's awesome.
The rest was history.
That's cool, though.
Yeah.
Y'all been married for how long now?
30 plus years. Let's see. Yeah, it was 87. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you got married in 87 or met in 87?
I got married in 87.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I graduated to East Carolina in December of 86, and we were married in May of 87.
So obviously I'm 55.
Then I got my job. I got married before I had a full-time job.
Yes. Well, Shelly and I did the same thing.
Yeah, I was still parking cars in downtown Richmond when I came home from school in December.
Wow. So you started in Powhatan, what grade level?
All of them. I did band grade 5 through 12. Mm-hmm. So they had one band director. At that time, most of those outlying counties, Goochland, Powhatan, they had one band director. So I did marching band practice at the high school before school started, and went to the intermediate school and taught grades 5 and 6, and then went back to the high school and taught the high school band class, and then went back to the intermediate school and taught grade
back and forth.
7, and then went back to the high school for after school garden drum practice. And luckily they were close. They were only like a mile and a half, 2 miles apart.
That helps.
Practically across Route 60 from each other.
Yeah.
So,
And you did that for 2 years.
yeah.
And you came straight to Chesterfield?
Yep. In search of the grass being greener on the other side. Then I found out what made the grass greener. But no, that's
Yeah. Well, Chesterfield, What school was that one, though?
Monacan.
How was that?
I went to Monacan High School. That was a big change, right? I was just doing high school instead of doing all of it.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah.
Now, was there still a beginning band in high school at Monacan?
No.
Okay,
No.
yeah.
Nope. No, they had started at middle school and then came on over to the high school.
Wow.
Yeah, because Prince George, they have a instrumental ensemble, is what they call it. And if you're already in band, you can learn a second instrument, but also if you just took it, you'd learn a new instrument. So
Yeah, that's cool.
they had, because I was talking to Mike one day, and he was like, yeah, I still do beginning band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that's, I think after COVID, I think that's a lot of places have kind of added that back in. I think that's become more something that some of the guys and gals in high school are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get more kids in and
But you
build the
were out of
programs.
teaching when COVID hit, or were you still teaching? I can't.
No, I was still teaching. I got to have all that fun.
Yeah.
So the the whatever it was. Well, yeah, we went out March 13th of whatever year that was, and we were out for the rest of that year.
Yeah.
And then we tried to come back a little bit the year following, and then went back home for a while, and then
It was tough.
came back in the spring in person. And so my last year, my what they call the ERIP year or supplemental retirement year, the year I was technically already retired but still teaching for a full year, was that year where it was in fits and starts. We had kids back in, but like half of them were in person and half of them were still online, teaching through the computer. So the year after I was gone was the first quote unquote normal year where pretty much everybody was back in the classroom.
Yeah.
And you were at Stuart Carver then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Right down the road here.
Yeah, I figured.
not
I was going to
far.
say that when I messaged you. I was like, you were actually right down the road from the school. Yeah.
Yeah.
About coming over. So, yeah, I think that, I think that not getting into the politics of COVID, but I think it certainly had a terrible effect on the kids.
100%.
Depression and everything else, learning, getting behind and learning, particularly, they say reading and math, and, it's just a bad situation.
Yeah,
Indeed.
When it hit, I was at the elementary school.
Right.
And I was having to do, Zoom lessons with kindergartners, and it was
I can't even imagine.
almost impossible. I mean,
I can sort of imagine, because it was like trying to teach band on the computer. That was ridiculous.
It is, yeah. That was not the best time particularly for the kids. I'll tell you that.
And even when we did come back, we would have the Monday through Thursday, and it was only half the kids were back in school, and then we had Fridays off, which were all virtual day. Yeah, and
right.
Which was it was good because we had time to plan, because we had to teach all day, and then we still had to teach our virtual kids, and that was kind of like for the Friday thing. We would put out assignments for them, and but it was still, the kids weren't ever on a schedule, and then so they leave Thursday, come 3-day weekend, come back, and there was, like I said, it was only half the school, so it was never really got back into flow, because I was there for another year, and even the year we came back, it was the kids who weren't ever in school that year. They had no idea what a schedule was.
Right. How do you do school if they'd never even been there yet?
Because we had first graders who had their whole year kindergarten on a computer.
Right.
So you lose that whole
insane
walking in the line, going to a bathroom, going to lunch.
Yeah, and then you have the people that are critics of this. I don't even want to go down this road, but I might as well. It's what's the value of learning to a schedule? Well, once, like for me, when I retired, not having a schedule made my life difficult.
Yeah.
Because, the schedule gives you structure and lays out your day and gives you something to motivate and for you. Like, okay, I got this class, and now I have a break, and then I got lunch. All that stuff is beneficial to people's lives. And we were talking before we started recording about, this in-home intensive in-home stuff I've been working on with the job I'm at. And,
right.
The most of the problem with particularly even the kids is they're not on a schedule. Say they get kicked out of school, suspended from school for misbehavior, and then the whole day is just, there's no structure to it, and it just creates anxiety, confusion, tension with the family, and it's even the same with the adults. Like when my father retired, my parents are divorced, but when he retired, his life went downhill because he didn't have that purpose and that schedule and that structure in his life, and it's just like, now what? So you almost got to reinvent your life, and you're retired.
I feel a little of that.
It's wild, yeah. So it's really vitally important, and then people are like, well, they're just learning how to work. It's like, well, that's what we do for the next 30 or 40 years after we get out of high school.
I heard something just recently, though. I was listening to something on the radio, and they were talking about how we have this big push. We're trying to push the academics even lower into kindergarten, pre-kindergarten, whatever, and some of the countries that have the highest success rates, like Finland and some of the European countries, they don't have that academic push at that age. Kindergarten is, more get used to the socialization, the structure, and then just play and let kids be kids.
Right.
Yep.
And then start worrying about the actual academic skills and
when they're ready,
math skills and reading skills and whatever a little bit later when it's actually developmentally appropriate. So, there's all different parts of it. Doing kindergarten and pre-kindergarten, I think, is important for those kids who don't have that structure at home.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Both parents are working, and so, otherwise they're just kind of floundering around in front of a TV or whatever with a babysitter. But it doesn't necessarily have to be the push to, okay, well, we've got to have them doing addition and subtraction, or let them still be kids a little bit. And that's kind of what kindergarten was. Whoever formed it, and I don't remember enough from my ed history. I don't know if you do. That was a little more recently. Kindergarten got started over in Europe. Anywhere, kindergarten was the German phrase or whatever. But
that's cool.
But that was kind of the thrust of it, was just a little bit more structured opportunity for kids to be kids, to play and
socialize,
socialize and get some exposure. So
That's what I liked when I don't know if you know Megan was working at a Montessori for.
I did, yeah. Montessori schools.
Yep. Like 3 years. I don't know.
Maybe more. Yeah,
I did see that.
Might have been 5 years. Think about it. Nah, maybe not that long because she had to go take that class in Florida and get certified and everything else.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, she was getting certified along the way, but she had to go like do a residency type thing for 2 or 3 weeks.
Sure.
But I liked talking to her because she said it was like unstructured structure. I don't know how you else would put it, but the kids would go in and they kind of got to choose what they would do that day. Like they had a checklist, but they would have math sheet, and then they would have playtime, and then during the day they're like, oh, well at 10 I want to play, and they'd play for 30 minutes, and then like, all right, what do you want to do now? Like, well, I'll do some math, and they'll do that, and then they got to go play again. And she said she would just jump around to different tables and kind of one-on-one stuff because she wasn't in front of them doing one thing at a time.
Right.
And she had an assistant in there all the time too, but
yeah, I think that's great, man.
But the kids they pretty much scheduled their day, but they had to get through everything. But it gave them that freedom, and most of the kids were always, willing to work because they knew they had to get it done, but they didn't, they knew they got to do it at their own time.
They had some choice in it too.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like that.
Yeah.
She was working with like 4 and 5 year olds.
Yeah.
So they were making those choices.
Well, I mean, I see the benefit of it, but then I also see and it seems like to the kids now, I don't know what generation this is that are teenagers or coming up as teenagers, but it was like they got too much choice, and then with that too much choice, they can't compartmentalize all that stuff.
Right.
And, it's just like, now what? So, I mean, I think and there was a mix of structure in the Montessori, so that was cool, but I'm like you. I think letting kids play is so important, and what I contest now is, with these video games, and we didn't let them play video games, and I hope that our grandson will be the same way. It's like, there's so much, like, go outside and play.
Right.
Like, if you go walk through a neighborhood or run through a neighborhood, if you jog or exercising, there are no kids outside playing. Yeah. It's like, where are all the kids, man? And that was so important for me as a kid was that interaction, and you're pretending, and you're like, you're pretty much, acting out what you see your parents do or other adults do, and that's how you kind of figure out where you fit in that order at some level, at a kid level.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, that's really important.
Right. Well, and then the other thing that they talk about, too, is, having to deal with boredom, per se, actually provides you some motivation to go and learn some things, develop some activities, whatever. And I know for myself, like you said, even, in retirement, that attraction of, I got 20 minutes here, I got to kill. I could go read something or, go practice the bagpipes, or I could just sit here and play with my phone for 20 minutes. And unfortunately, I make that choice too many times myself. But as a young person who doesn't have as much incentive to try and find some activities to occupy their mind and their time, because you've got that very easy, instant. Okay, this will. And it's fill up my 5 minutes or my 10 minutes or my 45 minutes or whatever.
It turns into 2 hours later, like, what am I looking at here?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just that mind numbing, just put much work in.
So, I mean, I did some teaching too, but adult, teaching at the police academy. And something if you're a police officer, you can become an instructor and you teach specific topics, and in this case, a regional police academy. And then at some point, when I did totally retire, because you're an officer, but you're also going back to teach.
Right.
It might be, it might be anything. It might be, traffic stops. It might be, investigative techniques to be a detective, or all these things. So you got to literally teach everything. But when I retired and started teaching there full time, 32 hours a week, I was like the class coordinator. And what I did was, it's almost like the military. It's like, okay, for the first, they didn't know how long, but it's like, you don't talk. No cell phones in the classroom, no cell phones in the building. If you have an emergency, give your family this number. We'll get it right to you. We're not going to hesitate getting you a message. But the point of the whole exercise was, and I think what we're talking about is that 20-minute time period, a 5-minute time period where there's no entertainment and there's nothing but silence.
Right.
Yeah. Don't talk. Don't turn your head. Look straight ahead. And what happened was I just did it because I thought that's what you should do. But then the more I started thinking about it, I would watch them, and it was torture for them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like they weren't. At first, I didn't have much discipline, but the other part was the fact that they had to sit there in silence.
Right.
Yeah.
And nobody's used to that silence unless they're sleeping or something, right? And what I was trying to tell them was, on the street you're gonna have to be, if you're a cop on the street, you're gonna have to be quiet because you have to have noise discipline. But imagine as time goes on, like the worst times I have for myself personally, if anxiety strikes up or old demons creep back in my mind is when I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting there in that silent time, man, and that's when these things show up, and you're like, that's what you got to work on mastering.
Right.
That time alone or that time in silence is when you do that self-reflecting. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to teach these recruits that stuff, and people would complain, believe it or not, but he's trying to be too heavy with the kids, like heavy thought. Get deep in thought, not hard on them physically, but that too. But they didn't like that either. Physical fitness, but that's deep, man. Yeah, when you can get in touch with your inner self, and of course when you're young, it's a struggle. But I'm sure it's easier for you now to look back and be calmer and be more conscious of your thoughts, and what seemed important 20 years ago is not so important now as you reach late 50s or mid 50s.
Yeah, that perspective is good.
Isn't it wild though, man?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, man. Yeah, I hope I can get even smarter, as I get older.
Well, no, I mean, I know my daughter just recently turned 30 at the beginning of the month, and she had made some of the same comments that she felt like, number one, she was always kind of an old soul, so she felt like she had finally arrived at the age that she was sometimes at. But beyond that, she felt like she started to acquire some confidence in her own skin and comfortable with, and I felt that way. I told her, I said, I felt that way more probably at 40 than I did at 30, where that decade from my 40s to my 50s was like when I finally felt like I had arrived at a point where I was comfortable with what I had achieved and what I hadn't achieved, and was more likely to say what I thought. Not try to be a jerk about it, but just, when somebody was bringing up something, actually say what my opinion was on something, and understand that not everybody was going to agree with that, and that was okay. Right. And just, so that for me was kind of the decade when I felt like that perspective had settled in for myself. And so I think that's true, I think, and like we've both had experience with anxiety that we've talked about, and I know we've talked about it over the years too, but just that experience that comes with having been through those obstacles or tribulations or whatever, and realize you're going to make it through them. Yeah. Part of it is learning the skills to make it through them, like we talked about with, CBT and all, but some of it is just that, when you're young, first couple of times you experience panic or whatever, it feels like it's the end of the world. Yeah, you think you're dying. And then, when you've been through that enough times and hopefully made it through reasonably well, you start to get that perspective that, okay, this is going to be okay. It feels bad now. Yeah. But, and then also, you've gotten some skills, hopefully somewhere along the line that you're like, okay, I know I can do this, and I know I can do this, and that's going to help.
That's big time, yeah.
That's going to help.
So this is what I mean by like the whole story. So when you were his teacher, everybody has a life outside the classroom, but nobody ever knows what the other person's going through. And you're up there performing in front of like 20, 30 students, and you're staying focused and but you're also got this whole other stuff in the background. Anxiety or
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So, I think that's always good to know, as we get older. And I think and the other thing is, I'm going to take up all this time myself, but once you overcome that stuff, it's almost like you're unstoppable. But I always still have that shit in the background. Like, I don't want to go get too confident, because guess what? Yeah. I'm still back here. Yeah. I'm waiting for you to slip up.
Yep.
So it's humbling, I think, is the bigger part of it.
Right.
humbles you. Yeah.
But it's like you've said, and I've heard, in the couple shows that I've listened to, and I was most recently listened to your one with Deputy Nassar.
Yeah, that was a good
Nasser
show.
Nassar, and
What a guy, man.
you're talking about everybody. It's like that thing you hear people say, everybody's going through something that you don't know about.
Yeah, yeah.
And it really is true. Everybody's got their struggles.
Yeah.
Some people put a better face on it than others. And certainly some people, again, listening to Nassar's stories,
Man, that was something.
when he got jumped in the prison he was working in, whatever. That's like, whew, thank God I hadn't ever experienced anything like that. But everybody's got challenges of different types.
Yeah, everybody puts up a different kind of wall. Wear it on their sleeve, or like Nassar, you never would guess he's been through that kind of stuff, because he just comes off as just that's how he is, just caring and open-hearted guy, and just very forgiving too. That's what I was most surprised about.
Yeah, same.
He was just like,
I was like,
wow,
wow,
I forgive him.
He seems really okay with it. Yeah.
He was something in the academy, and even here, I've heard the story before, but sitting next to him that day we did the podcast, I was filled with rage at the people that did that to him, and I was like, I'd like to get, I told him, I said, I can't help it. I'm pissed that happened to you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he's like, hey man, I've already forgiven him. I was like, damn.
Yeah. Big time.
That's tough. But literally this guy, and I won't name names, but he would drive an hour one way. So basically damn near an hour to pick this person up, and then drive all the way back to the academy because this person couldn't get a car.
Needed a ride.
Yeah, and I kept hearing about it. I was like, I try to stay out of the politics of the class, let them kind of form. But at one point I said, hey, man, I need to talk to you. I said, is this really happening? He's like, yeah. I'm like, you need to cut that out, man. Mm-hmm. Because he was falling behind in some class, or whatever. Something was happening with him because his wife was, had some physical disabilities or something. I think he mentioned that on the podcast, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she had a heart condition.
Yeah, I didn't want to say if I can't.
Yeah, he brought it that.
Okay. Yeah. So he's trying to deal with all that on top of this thing,
right?
And I was like, bro, there's a point where you got to start looking out for yourself, son. But that's how giving of a person he is. So, it was amazing.
So this is completely off topic, but you brought up bagpipes earlier.
Oh yeah.
I gotta go into that because I remember you getting into that, and I still see it on Facebook and stuff too.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun, 100%. So I recently, went back. It's been like 20 years now. It seems like it was still, like 3 years ago that I
so
picked it up and started trying to do that. But it's been a while now. So
how long? Tell us how you got into it. You're a trumpeter by trade or whatnot.
Yeah, my family heritage is got a fair amount of that in there. The Macklin, Shedden, Choate, Macklin and Shedden are both Scottish surnames.
That's awesome.
So there was the family heritage there, which I was kind of interested in, and we started going out to some of the Celtic festivals. Of course, we've got the Richmond Highland Games, which has been going on, probably 30 years or so now here in the Richmond area in one configuration or another. And started listening to more Celtic music, of course, because, I was a music guy, and so I was into the music part of it and getting into the sound of the pipes, Highland pipes and the Uilleann pipes, which is the Irish small pipe that's bellows driven by the elbow, not as loud. And so somewhere along the line, I just decided I'd like to learn how to do that. And actually, what I really wanted to do was to play the Uilleann pipe, the Irish pipe, because I still think that's just a super cool sound. And Mr. Hara, Mike Hara, you know Mike, who's still over here at Matoaka Middle School. He had played the Scottish pipe, the Highland bagpipes, and also played the Uilleann pipe some. And we were talking, and he was like, well, that's pretty expensive, the Uilleann pipes, but you can get into a very similar type sound with what's called Scottish small pipes. So it's the same fingering system as the big bagpipe. But it's a smaller instrument. It's still mouth blown like the regular bagpipes are, but it's got a similar sound to the Irish or uilleann pipe. And so I was like, well, okay, I need, I'll go out, I'll get the practice chanter that you use to learn how to do all of that, and I'll learn to do that, and then I'll get a set of Scottish small pipes. Well, so I went to the Richmond Festival, and with the plan that I was going to buy a practice chanter and maybe buy a method book and learn on my own, and Greater Richmond Pipes and Drums, I had to sign up that they were teaching a beginner class.
Oh, wow.
And, I was like, well, that's probably smarter to try and learn with a group of people. I knew enough to know that I'd probably be better learning with a teacher and with somebody who knew what was going on than just trying to stumble through myself, even as a music teacher. So I was signed up to do that. And then just never stopped. I mean, I got to the point where I learned the chanter enough that I maybe could have switched over to the Scottish small pipes, but I guess as a band person anyway, I was drawn in by the whole band thing, and playing the big Highland bagpipe. So I just still doing it, still with Greater Richmond.
Yeah, so I mean,
having fun.
Yeah. Do you know a guy named Mike McCann?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Know Mike McCann.
Yeah. Okay. So all right.
Yeah, so
what does he play?
He plays the Scottish pipes. He plays the Highland bagpipe.
Was he the one at that ceremony? Oh,
yeah.
That guy's awesome. Yeah.
State trooper.
Yeah, first sergeant now. I think.
And
a sergeant major, whatever they call it. Yeah.
He's pretty much self-taught. He taught himself.
Really?
He came and played. He played with our band for a while I was there. Before he got the group that he leads now, the Metro Richmond Police Emerald Society Pipes.
Yeah.
He and some of the people who became his core, and Mike, I hope I'm saying this right, but some of the people who became the core of that played with Greater Richmond for a little while, getting, kind of seeing how the whole band thing worked. And
so you know Jody Warren too.
Yep, know Jody. We do a lot of stuff when we go to these various festivals, the Highland Games or the Churchill Irish Festival or whatever.
Right.
We work with Mike's group, with Murphy's a lot, and play with them a lot. So I know most of those guys.
Now, is his group mostly law enforcement, or is it?
Yes, pretty much everybody in there is in law enforcement. Some of them with Chesterfield sheriffs, and some of them with Hopewell, or I'm probably not even sure what different agencies. But I don't know. I don't know for sure whether you have to be or not. But I think just about everybody.
Yeah, I think they are
in that group. Is
that what they do?
Is associated with law enforcement?
Yeah, like say for example at this is the worst case scenario, like a law enforcement funeral, they'll play.
Yeah.
And fire departments too, or and they also play like at police graduations and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Yeah.
Well, that was the first time I ever played taps. You taught me how to play taps.
Okay.
It had to be 8th grade.
Yeah, you played that at our own little memorial in Petersburg.
Yeah, that was like the most nerve-wracking thing I've probably ever done, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel that.
Because it was all, first of all, it was all law enforcement, and then there was one family of a officer who just got
fallen officer. Yeah,
wow.
Well, actually,
and that was when you were in 8th grade.
Yeah,
wow. He did it, man. Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, Mr. Choate, I need to learn taps."
Right.
And I could barely get to my F, so I'm sitting there trying to hit that.
Right.
But no, I did it, and I remember seeing the family down there, and I kind of just blacked out and played it. And
yeah.
And then since then, I was invited a couple of times, and I think it was.
You were the sheriff's office that you played.
Yeah, sheriff's office was like 2016 or something, and that's when
Sheriff Crawford.
Yep.
In Petersburg, and then Mike McCann.
That's
was
when
there.
McCann was there.
Mm-hmm.
So he played Amazing Grace.
Amazing Grace, right?
Right before I played taps. I'm sitting there listening to him play. I'm like, oh man, I got to play after this guy.
Yeah.
And he walks out, in his full uniform.
Yeah,
and
he's a great piper for sure.
No, I played taps for that, and then but no, every time I went back there, I always thought I was like, man, Mr. Choate taught me how to play.
That's cool. That meant a lot of people, man. Every time that you guys play for, so you've met some cops. You've met a lot of them.
Oh yeah,
through the and I'm sure there are times that they get overboard. But that kind of tradition and that kind of camaraderie that runs deep, man. There's certain cops sometimes a bunch of knuckleheads, but they're also there is that underneath that is that core that it's that brotherhood, man. So the same with the military and whatever. But Mike McCann, so I mean, he's still active. He's still a active trooper. But the first time I met him, so there's always this rift between the city of Petersburg and the state police, or because the state police, they're assigned to certain areas.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean if you're not assigned to, like, let's say you're to the Tri-Cities, Colonial Heights, Petersburg, Prince George, or something like that. I think at the time he first came to the areas, this is 25, 30 years ago now. And most troopers didn't want to come into the city for whatever reason. I won't say what I think why they didn't. But if they were detailed, it was a problem. Like, say, we had a lot of problems with drugs, and they detailed 20 troopers down there. They had to work there. Wow. And that was always like,
right.
Troopers like, we're state troopers, we're driving. Like, nah, you're in our city, you're riding with us. That kind of knucklehead stuff. And they'd go back and forth. But anyway, so this, I just want to tell the story because maybe he'll hear it or hear about it so you can hear it. But yeah, so he was a trooper that always came into the city because he's a pretty big dude. He was a small guy. Yeah. And I met him, and it was like just kind of like all the clubs would let out on Friday and Saturday night. And literally, there'd be like several thousand people out on like North Sycamore Street. And you hear this tap, tap, tap. Who wants some? Clear the streets. He's got this big stick, this nice stick. He's banging it on the asphalt. State trooper here.
Yeah, I can believe that 100%.
Yeah, and people are like, wait a minute, who the hell is that guy? I never seen a state trooper in the city, much less, but banging on a nightstick, telling people, who wants some or whatever he said.
Well, and he grew up in Prince George too, didn't he?
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, he probably did.
I think he did.
Yeah.
I think he's from Prince George, and then he'd served in the Army. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's a real deal. He was banging that nightstick.
Yep.
They were like, that's a real trooper right there. So.
Yeah.
Did he play pipes in the Army? Did you know?
I don't know when he started learning. Again, I do know, and I think I heard it from his own lips that he just decided he wanted to learn them, and he picked them up and taught himself. I'm sure he had some resources. I don't know exactly what, but he's and then he's gone at different times and gotten lessons from various people. But I think pretty much he taught himself because he just thought that was cool. And and
he's a
and
large
obviously he's got the heritage, right? McCann. I mean, that's a good Irish name. So
he's a character, man. He's a good person to have.
He's
in a
the
fight.
real deal. Oh yeah, I wouldn't want anybody else. Wouldn't want to be on the opposite side.
Nah, it's wild, man. I love that, man. Yeah, because when I saw you playing, I was thinking, I knew there had to be some kind of connection. Even though I didn't know for sure, but I'm glad that you know those guys because even Jody's a great guy too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like a captain or a major in Prince George.
we like working with them a lot, and hopefully they like working with us too.
They do.
But
man,
we love playing together.
So and you've been doing it for 20 years now. I mean, how often do you guys get together? And I know it's a couple festivals.
We have practices, weekly, all year round. We compete. So the competition season starts up pretty soon here in April, and technically runs from April, May all the way through until the Richmond games in late October are one of the last games of the season nationally. We personally don't do a whole lot during the summer. A lot of those games are further north. They're just a little bit further afield from where we want to travel. But we typically do some of the competitions in the spring, and then kind of lay low, do 4th of July parade and some other stuff during the summer, and then pick back up in the fall.
Nice.
Yeah. And then, of course, St. Patrick's Day, we got a lot of things going on. And we do some performances around Christmas time as well in the community. But
how many people are in the group overall?
I would say maybe 25 to 30 people active at one point or another. I mean, we get different amounts of people out for different events.
Right.
Typically less than that, but if we had everybody who was performing both drums and pipes, I'd say right now our roster is probably somewhere between 25 and 30.
Wow. So when y'all compete, is it based upon size of the group, or is it just open?
No, it's sort of like in the band world. It's where Eric knows where it's based on difficulty of music, but
Okay, yeah.
it's a little looser than that. It is based by experience, and you start out. It's the reverse of band. So grade 5 is like entry level, or your first level up, and then grade 1 it would be the best bands, and pretty much the judging panel year to year, after you've done so well in a certain grade level, will say, okay, you all need to move up to grade 4.
Yeah.
You were clearly experienced enough. You've got enough people or whatever it is,
Right.
to do that. So we used to have 2 different bands. We had a grade 3 band and a grade 5 band, and then COVID hit, and like a lot of organizations, that kind of knocked the wind out of us. We lost people during those years of hiatus. So currently, right now, we have a grade 5 competition band,
Nice.
and hoping to move back to grade 4 in the near future.
That's awesome. Now, how many are actually do music for a living, or is it mostly just people on the side, doing it for fun?
We have, so our playing instructor, Chance Bell, pretty much his sole income is from piping, either teaching private lessons, or he also works with an online platform called Piper's Dojo, where he teaches online. He could be teaching anybody all over the country. So, and then we have another person with the band who performs at a very high level, and she does a lot of instruction. But actually, I would say she is completely making her living in piping as well, because she is the pipe band director over at Benedictine now.
Oh, wow.
This is her second or third year there.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so she used to have other job on the side. So, but right, Mary Wallace, she's
Wow.
she teaches private lessons. She's pipe band instructor at Benedictine, and she's been doing it all her life, and she's really good.
That's awesome.
She drums, she pipes, she does it all. And then, so they're the only 2 who are really doing piping full time.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's myself, Mr. Hara's in our band, Mike Hara's in our band. So, a couple music teachers, and then everybody else does other things.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
That's cool though. I think music is something. I mean, that's awesome. So
And you get him on the drums.
yeah, man.
We need drummers all the time.
Yeah, I might think about it. We'll have to see. I mean, I'd love to play drums, but
Bass drum, got an immediate opening. So
You're hired.
you've got the right physique, Eric. I'm just, just saying.
well, I was a bass drummer for 3 years. So I was in marching band too. Yeah, that's
All right.
how I met Shelly. Yeah.
We need to talk
more. Let me talk before we do anything. Let me talk to the boss.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, but that
Yeah, because
is.
he's Thomas Dale bass
I
drum
know.
alum.
Yes.
I know.
Oh, I know.
Well, I was a snare drummer the last year, but yeah, I was a bass drummer for a long time, man.
All right.
That was real, and we had 4 bass players, and we were like our talking about the band level of difficulty. So number 1 is the most difficult. Oh wait, what's the level 5 like at the not so much marching band, but even like concert band.
So concert bands
It's-
like grade 6 is the most difficult. So it's the
It's
exact
flipped.
opposite, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So did you ever know Mr. Perkins, Scott Perkins?
I did know Scott Perkins.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was at Thomas Dale when I first started teaching out at Powhatan.
Yeah, he was a big influence in my life. Mm-hmm. I'll leave that part out. So he lives down in Florida now. He's
Okay.
yeah.
I don't think I did not know that.
Well, I don't think he minds. He's a recovering alcoholic himself, and
Okay.
and we never knew that going on. But he reached out to me one time, and, like I said, with the magic of Facebook, it has pros and cons. But in this case, he's like, "Hey, I don't know if he ever really had talked about it before on Facebook, but I think he has since. But he's like, I got a friend of mine. I don't know if you can try to help him. And it's right at the time Shelly was diagnosed with cancer, so I was still trying to help this guy. Just take that day by day journey. But I think that's how I found out. But he was a great band teacher to us.
Yeah. No, he always had a solid program for sure.
Yeah, he was a character, man. But yeah, we had some pretty good bands back then. We Indian River band competition.
Mm-hmm.
They're like what?
That was a big one.
Yeah, they were huge, bro. And we actually were double A or single A band at the time, and we won the whole competition.
Yeah.
Now we didn't beat Indian River because
Right.
they couldn't compete.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
But y'all
Yeah.
took overall, yeah.
Yeah, as a single A.
Yeah.
band.
Yeah. Thomas Dale always rocked.
Yeah, and he that band played incantation and dance as their percussion. I don't think you can do that anymore.
That's,
like the
that's
percussion
a
solos.
grade 6 piece. That's
Yeah.
a beast.
Yeah, we played incantation and dance as a symphonic band and got all the highest marks, or whatever.
All
that
superiors.
Mm-hmm.
superiors. Yeah, he was a top notch man. Yeah, I love band, dude. That shit changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it weren't for him, man, I wouldn't have.
Well, Scott was a good one. Scott was a good one for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't have made it through high school if it weren't for him. I mean, he I was a pain in his butt, but I don't know, man. I didn't think he liked me, but he kept me in, and he let me hang out in the band room a lot
Oh, yeah.
instead of causing trouble. And then I love when I got the message to him say, "Hey, can you believe a Liverman is a drum major now?" Because Eric was.
Right.
He's like, doesn't surprise me at all, but I bet deep inside he was like, yeah, right. I said, shots for out for drum major. He's like, don't waste your time.
We need you too much on the drums.
Yeah, you're too good.
Yeah, you're too good at the drum line.
Yeah.
And he almost didn't want to make me drum line captain. I'm like, man, are you serious right now? I'm a damn senior, bro. There's some politics involved in that too, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because you think them band boosters,
Yeah,
a lot
right.
of people donating time and money. My
Right.
parents didn't donate crap, but they just weren't into it. Don't listen to his mom. Sorry. So at the time we had like this big donator, right? And they wanted their son to be like
Right.
he was
Right.
caught in the middle, but he was only
Yeah.
a junior.
There you go.
Probably a better drummer than me too, but I don't know.
They needed him on drums.
Seniority.
That's what I told him. I said, man, I've been waiting a long time for this.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
wow.
And he's got the drum set downstairs.
Yeah.
Oh, I still love playing, man. Yeah, I mean, I could. I'm pretty sure I could play in y'all's. And I think I have the skill level to play. I just don't know if
Catch you up on the
boss
reading the music.
Tuesday
side.
nights.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But right now, I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. I got my mind on my little.
No, I
my
know
little
you got.
man.
Yep. Especially with the family expanding, the grandkids.
Oh man.
And what's the learning curve on the pipes?
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
That was that. So, they say anywhere from. So you start learning on what we call the chanter, the practice chanter. It's kind of like a recorder but with a reed, right?
Oh, wow.
So it's got a little reed in it that's sort of like the same reed that would go on the actual chanter for the bagpipes. But you learn on that so that you can just learn the fingerings first. And not only because the thing about the bagpipes is since you can't stop the air,
Yeah.
right? The way you separate the melody notes, the way you articulate is with all these different little ornaments, so little trills and turns and more ornaments than that. And that's what actually creates the subdivision between the notes so that the melody notes speak more. And so you got to not only learn how to do all the fingerings, but you got to learn how to do all these different ornaments. And you got to have the songs down cold, solid by memory before you start trying to learn the bagpipes and how to fill the bag and squeeze the bag and do all that kind of craziness. Because as soon as you start doing all that, there's no thinking about what your fingers are doing anymore.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. So you learn the practice chanter, and they say anywhere from 6 months to a year before you go to pipes,
The actual
or up on
pipe.
pipes. So I think it was a year from when I started before I was up on pipes, like before I performed with the band on the bagpipes. So I guess maybe it was probably about 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Before, but so physically blowing the instrument for sure, much more physical than any instrument I've ever played, right? And I mean, like you, I had to play everything in the band to get a music ed degree. So, so way more physical, way more wind, way more. I mean, it used to be, I'd practice at home, an hour practice session, and I'm like sweating and hot and everything, just like I'd been to the gym.
Wow.
So it was a workout. And learning wise, I think it's probably particularly challenging for adults because, like a lot of things, it doesn't sound like you want it to at first, right? So that's the challenge with any adult learning an instrument as an adult is they want to be able to play what they hear immediately, and they don't have the patience to sound bad. Yeah. And so, but then with the practice chanter, you're not even playing the instrument you want to play, right? You're playing this nasally little thing that sounds like a sick oboe because, I mean, that's what it is. It's a double reed instrument, and it's a practice reed that's not even meant to be really good. You're like, you know, and you're just sitting there practicing that going like, what am I doing? So you really have to want to do it to put up with all of that craziness before you finally even get to try the instrument.
No,
you wanted to learn. So it's no joke. I mean, it's
how similar is it to
curve.
oboe?
Well, I mean, once you get on the pipes, it's not similar at all because it's not the same.
I didn't know if the chanter the fingerings were similar. Or?
So the chanter is kind of similar to recorder fingerings. A little. It's what's different about it is that you don't actually, like with oboe, of course, or bassoon, you put the reed into your mouth and you're controlling that reed with your lips. With the chanter, since you're not going to be doing that on the bagpipe anyway, there's actually you put the reed in the end of it, and then there's a cap that goes over it. So you're just blowing into a blowpipe like you do on the pipes.
I got you.
Right? So you're not actually blowing onto the reed itself, but I guess otherwise it's kind of similar to the oboe.
I was just asking.
No, it's a good question. It's a great question. Actually, I don't think anybody's asked me that before. But
that was my secondary in college was oboe.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive.
I was taking oboe lessons, and I did a couple
when we
shows
went
at a church.
When his recital, well, I don't think, did you do a recital we went to on oboe?
Mm-hmm. I did two, I can't remember what church it was.
No, I'm talking about for the grade. Remember we'd come for the trumpet recitals and all that?
I probably did one for my woodwinds class or something.
Yeah, I did
a couple.
Because
it's probably like a 10-minute recital on oboe. It wasn't anything crazy.
Right.
But.
Yeah, the reason I was asking was, I mean, we got to hear him play with the church, and I was expecting, oh man, well, no, were we there that day?
I think it was Mom and Megan were there.
All right, yeah, because we rarely miss anything the kids did. I mean,
right,
we try to be at every event. So I knew I couldn't remember the story. So Mom and Megan were there, but I got to hear the recording. And I was like, I mean, it sounded really good.
Yeah,
I was like, damn, bro, I was expecting
I'm impressed, man.
that was intimidating because it was. The choir and the piano player, and then solo oboe, and then one of the girls.
That's no joke.
One of the majors, oboe majors, was like, "Hey, I can't make this show. Do you want to step in for me?" I was like, "There's 4 other oboe majors." He's like, "Oh, they're busy too." I was like, but you got it." I was like, I don't. Okay.
Wow.
So for 3 weeks on my lessons, we just did that music, and I did it.
Good for you.
It was pretty impressive, man. I mean, it's almost like when
that can be an unforgiving instrument. So that's I'm impressed.
That was a cool experience because it actually was my oboe professor at the time. She was a church that she went to and played at, and she was I don't know if she was playing the piano that day. I don't know. It was weird how it worked out, but I just happened to get the gig. And
so you were playing while your oboe teacher was at the church.
She was either
involved
in the
performance.
She might have been the director at the time. Yeah, so the whole thing.
Talk about pressure.
Pressure, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I remember, and I don't know if you went to East Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so thought to make sure I had it right.
Go Pirates.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. That seemed like a great place to go.
Except not in football recently, but anyway.
Yeah, well.
I mean, I see hers a hell of a party school, but
so my wife tells the story that the music building, the lobby outside the music building, behind the music building there was a snack bar. And so when you were in the music building up on the second floor, you could look out, you could see, and it was real popular because it was a snack bar. So a lot of the people on campus would be out there congregated around. And she tells the story that her her music professor one of their first flute studios, and they're up there on the second floor looking out, and she says, "You look out there, you see all those people sitting down there on the brick and hanging out around the snack bar." And she's like, "Yeah, they're not music majors and they're not business majors. You got too much to do. You won't be sitting around outside all day." So that was kind of steal. Yes, I think it was a big party school. I'm afraid I didn't get to partake in too much of that in college because, rightly or wrongly, I was usually working too hard. But but yes, it does have that reputation, and rightly so.
Yeah.
That's just college in
That's
general.
a long answer. I'm sorry.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
but and I would say, so that's cool. I'm glad I have heard that, but I felt like Eric and even with Megan with dance at VCU, it's like they almost at the end of it didn't want to play the instrument again and didn't want to dance as much.
Yeah,
is that how it was? VCU is kind of maybe it's a different kind of mindset or something.
I don't. The way I put it when I tell, I actually started on cello in second grade, and I played cello for 2 years, and I hated practicing it, and I liked playing it at school, but I hated practicing it. So I stopped playing. When I got to trumpet, I loved playing trumpet. Nobody ever had to ask me to play trumpet. And so the reason I'm telling this story is because I often tell kids at school when I'm talking about, I think being on the right instrument is important, or doing something that fits your personality. But the other part I tell of that is nobody ever had to tell me to practice until I got to college, right? So then, for sure, in college it became more work, and less and a little less fun. But I didn't. I will say, actually, when I came home at first, I actually still wanted to. I mean, I felt like I'd finally gotten some things under control. I need to get under control. I tried to find the opportunity to practice. I think I mentioned when we first started talking. When I came back, I was working for Vapart, parking cars downtown, just because that's what you could get when you came home in December. And I would take my trumpet with me and go over to VCU and go in the music building and practice, either when I finished working or sometimes even on lunch or whatever, just because I wanted to play still.
That's cool.
And then it got, once you, like you said, once you started working and started teaching, that was just not possible. But so I don't know.
I guess it depends on the person.
Yeah. But definitely there's that aspect to it where it's been so much work and you spend so much time doing it that it's certainly not.
It becomes more of a job. And because you have deadlines and lessons. And
well, I remember at VCU they had like performing majors, and I think the first 2 years you're the same, and then you have to decide education or performance.
Right.
So I remember, like before each recital, Eric's like, I'm how's it going? Good, I'm doing pretty good, but I can't compete with these other dudes. And I'm like, but they were performance majors,
right?
And I try to. I mean, I just popped in my head for some reason. I was just like, look at it more like a basketball coach or a coach of any team. They may have always had the dream of going to the NBA, but they didn't have that little bit of extra skill to be an NBA player. Or maybe they played at a lower level college or whatever. As far as in college basketball, but the step from college to pro is a whole nother step.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, you're not competing against people. That's not your major. Majors, you got to learn how to teach kids to take an instrument, pick it up who've never even held one, learn how to hold it, learn how to play it, learn how to appreciate it. I think that helps you some.
Yeah. No, because I was never the star trumpeter, but I mean, I do feel like though I picked up all the other stuff pretty quickly when we were in strings class or whatever it was.
Right.
I think I picked up other instruments real fast, and that was with oboe too.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Apparently,
it was weird though. If I played oboe for a couple hours, I go pick up my trumpet. It helped.
I think the embouchure. The muscles that it's working out.
So I used to warm up on oboe. And, 20, 30 minutes on oboe, and then I'd go to trumpet and everything kind of
I can absolutely see that would help.
Yeah, and I wasn't saying that to put you down. I was saying no. There were some people that that's all they focused on.
Right. You had to realize the difference between those who were.
And I think about those, and I can look back at some of our top players, and I couldn't see them teaching. Nothing against them. But
right.
Just some people aren't.
Yeah.
I had a couple professors even at VCU I'm not going to say any names, but some of the best players you ever met, but weren't necessarily the best teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's key. I mean, it's one thing to be able to do something. I mean, you could use anything, but it doesn't mean, number one, the best teachers aren't necessarily the best players, but they know they just have an ability to teach, and it could be teaching
to relate
anything.
to other people and to get things across.
Yeah, and even like I would use like firearms. I mean, I had to teach firearms from and everybody's like, hey, well, we taught jailers and we taught police officers. So the police officers knew they were going to carry guns, so that wasn't really an issue for them. But we had jailers that they still had to qualify, but in the jail they don't carry guns.
Okay,
and we had and it was majority females were in the profession at the time and probably are now. I'm not sure what that's about, but so if you look at domestic violence, it's usually victims of domestic violence are female. So we'd have people on the firearms range that were victims of domestic violence that involved guns. Yeah. Or had guns pointed at them, or whatever. And they as soon as you put a gun in hand, they'd start crying.
Wow.
So and like one girl, every time she pulled the trigger, like she was terrified. But we got her to the point where she could shoot. And I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not sure why I went down this road, but I mean, if you know the technique, you know the process, and you can teach people that process, they can be successful.
Right.
Like you had one teacher's like, I don't think teaching, I think everybody should be a music major. I had a professor like that, a performance major.
Well, I was walking into the practice room with my oboe, and he said, "What is that?" I said, "My oboe." I was like, narration. He's like, "Where's your trumpet?" So and then he kind of went on the spiel about, if you're here to do trumpet, I need to see you playing trumpet. And it was just kind of a weird thing to say to a music major.
That is
education major. I mean,
yeah,
that kind of just threw me off. And I was like, I'm still playing music.
Yeah,
at least I'm practicing.
Well, it's like he forgot that somebody taught him how to play trumpet.
Yeah,
right. He didn't come out the womb playing on a trumpet.
Yeah,
right.
That's weird.
Well, the problem with some is that they did well enough at it all the way along that they never really had to examine. Right, they never had to have somebody help them how to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
To any, I'm not sure exactly what I'm trying. Sure, they've had people teach them along the way. They've had people shape them, but they never had any significant problems. So they never really had to have anybody break it down for them, or they never had to think for themselves how to break it down to really work out that problem. Right. It kind of came natural, and so
because they look at you and you're like, well, why can't you do that?
Yes,
right. They've always natural to them.
And so being able to either break it down for you in steps of how you could get there. Well, just like we were talking about earlier about cognitive behavioral therapy,
right?
To go on a big sidetrack, but that's just that whole thing of for some people all that comes naturally, and for other people, you actually can be taught the same skills to try to look at things in a different way. And just like music, you can learn what those skills are, you can learn what those steps are, and then you can practice them so they become more second nature, right? And if you haven't ever had to do that with anything,
that's true.
Then sometimes it's a problem being able to help somebody else do that.
That's true.
So somebody who can do that as a teacher or an instructor usually has either had to do that for themselves a little bit or have somebody do that for them.
Yeah.
So
that they can actually see what the process is to build that up when it's not automatic and second nature.
That was a great explanation. Yeah, I think you saying that made me come to peace with it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't appreciate it at the time.
Right.
Yeah, and I think they had this person like a name to attach to the program.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
This world-renowned person plays here.
Right.
Teacher here.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're a great teacher.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I was going to bring up, you mentioned your daughter earlier, so we let you talk about your kids a little bit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we kind of went off track. Yeah.
No, that's all right. It's been some interesting side journeys. Well, funny. I mean, so both of them are at an interesting transition point here. My daughter has been in India for 9 months.
Oh, wow.
She went over. She got a Fulbright grant. So not the research. They do research things, and then they also. I didn't know this until this opportunity came available for her. But they also provide grants for people to go over and teach. So she's been over there teaching English as a second language to university women at a women's college in Chennai, which is on the, let's see if I can get this right, the southeastern coast of India.
Okay.
So, and she's wrapping that all up here at the beginning of April. So my wife and I, actually right before I came here, we were on the phone with her and her boyfriend because we're going over April 6th, and we're going to tour around a little bit with them.
That's awesome.
Before they come home.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So she's getting ready to come back, and she was at VCU in their global learning department working with international students before she actually VCU helped her put together her application for this program a lot. You know, they do that not only for students but for faculty and staff. So curiously enough, because she was gone for so long, so she doesn't have a position in VCU when she comes back, per se. You know, they helped her get this grant so she could leave, and then they were without her as a job, and then she might end up back there. I mean, they still have some people that they need in that department. We'll see what happens, but that's what she was doing. She was working with international students at VCU before she got the grant to go over there. So that's what she's been doing. And my son just left a week ago to start on a new adventure of his. So he has been, since graduating high school, he mainly has been working in the ski industry. He has worked at various ski resorts through the winter, sometimes through the summer, in their snowmaking area. And he just finished doing that out in New Mexico for this winter. But last summer, he has had this interest in, he's been doing some continuing ed in, and is very focused on getting into working with bison herds.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was working up in Culpeper with a small farm that raised bison essentially as meat, you know, selling it to restaurants and things like that as a more sustainable, healthy meat source than cattle.
Okay, yeah.
It's leaner. They have less impact on the, the grassland or prairie or whatever. So they have less impact on the environment, and it's also healthier meat if you're into that.
I've had bison.
So he got really interested in that, and he worked there last summer. And then again, he went and still worked in the ski industry, but he just took a job in Nebraska. Yeah. So he's out there now working with the Nature Conservancy.
Wow.
They have a 58,000 acre preserve out there. That half of it they lease to cattlemen to graze their herds on, and then the other 26,000 of it they have a bison herd. And so he's one of a couple of people who will be working with their bison. And
I mean, does he ride a horse, or is all?
Not. I think it's mostly ATVs.
Okay, I was wondering.
Mostly ATVs these days.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
But he may yet ride a horse. We'll see. So that's a brand new adventure. We're hoping maybe in the summer, at some point after we get back from getting my daughter home, then we might be able to venture out to Nebraska to see what he's doing out there. He sent some pictures just recently. Beautiful.
I can't imagine.
Beautiful. Prairie land, hills in the background, river running along. It was really pretty. So
I've never been that far out west, but I know it's beautiful out there.
Yeah,
we want to go out there. Yeah, Shelly and I want to go out there. Yeah.
Now I will say India is awesome too because my sister-in-law got married.
I caught that you all had been over there. Right?
I didn't go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but
she had her probably
was your wife
3 years ago.
Did she go over there? I guess.
No, she didn't get to go either.
Okay.
The way that they did the Indian wedding, it was just the bride and then the parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my sister-in-law and then her parents, they went over and did the Indian reception and wedding.
Right.
And when they had their wedding over here, it was kind of half and half. They had a couple instrumentalists play during the reception, and then just a couple of the ceremonial things they did was based on the Indian tradition. But they had a full-blown Indian wedding over there, and so her sister and her parents got to do a little traveling, and they loved it. Yeah, because a lot of his family's still over there.
Well, I've never been out of the country. Well, that's not true. We went one time when we had gone up to Buffalo for DCI finals, band nerd, right? And we went up to Buffalo, and so when we were in Buffalo, we went to Niagara, and we went across into Canada and spent the night, and then came back. And that's the sole extent of my international travel was one day in Canada. So this will be my first out of country experience.
That's a big
would not
big
necessarily
jump.
be my first choice, but since my daughter's there, and
That's right.
that's pretty cool, and that's not going to happen all the time. So this is when
I think you should go. I'm trying to think of the little town over there because you sound like my international travel is about the same. Went to a little town over there and right on the other side of daggone. If Shelly, I could ask her. See, she's from Michigan, so her family all is from Michigan.
Okay,
but we went up there. This is years. I don't think the kids are even born yet.
Are you talking about Canada?
Yeah, we went into Canada.
Okay.
I thought you were talking about India for a second.
No, Canada. I said that's the extent of my travel.
Right.
Yeah, and I just can't think of the little town.
We're travel brothers.
That's it. No, I was on a cruise. I guess that counts.
And Turks
and Caicos, so vacation spots. But
okay, you got me beat.
But yeah, and it would really be cool is like once your daughter gets back here, maybe have her on talk about India and the culture and every different just the whole. I mean, we had a cop that he was from India. He was Indian. Patel. I think we talked about him with the podcast with Nassar. Mm-hmm. But he still has family over there, so he's been back and forth. He's since out of law enforcement. He worked in Petersburg. He was our first, Indian officer. I think maybe at least in the Tri-City areas. It may have been in Virginia at the time. This is some time ago. But yeah, I think he might be over there now. But he said the major thing over there, the difference was like there's no personal space. Like people would get up on you.
That's what I understand. Yes,
that's
true.
If you're staying there and like people just like there's another lady I worked with when I used to do security and stuff at the hospital when I retired as a cop. But one of the nurses there, her family was still in India, and she said when they'd go back every year, they'd have to get their phone set up to work in India, and like her dad was in the store and like there's like 20 people was over top of him. She's like, she wasn't used to it. She's like, what is going on? He's like, back up, everything's cool. Just how they do it. Yeah, but I mean, I can't imagine going to another country and just seeing that. I'd love to do that, man. Yeah. But I think your kids sound pretty brave kids.
They have been, my wife and I, like, where did they get this from? I mean,
that's pretty amazing, really.
My daughter, when she graduated college, so the first thing that she did was she had been doing yoga and teaching yoga when she was at App State down in North Carolina, and she wanted to get her yoga teaching certificate. Mm-hmm. And there was a woman that she had worked with in Boone who had moved to Atlanta and started a school where she, taught yoga teachers. She did this certification training or whatever. Mm-hmm. So my daughter was like, okay, I'm going to move to Atlanta and I'm going to do this. And I've found an apartment and I've found a job like online without visiting down there. She found a job, found a place to live. Was like, I need your help moving me to Atlanta. Let's get a U-Haul trailer and attach it to the back of the car. And we did. We attached all that, and we're like, what in the world? You know, I would not have. I don't think I would have had that much.
Yeah, I don't think I would.
Initiative to do all that. But
pretty amazing. Yeah.
And you know, my son is very shy and very. He doesn't say much. He doesn't have a lot to say. He keeps to himself pretty much, and yet, you know, he goes out and applies for. You know, he applied for these opportunities.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Out in Nebraska, he's gone out to a couple of conferences where he's gotten some continuing education in bison. And in fact, my wife was just telling me when he was home just recently before he went to Nebraska, she said something to him about his comfortableness, quote unquote, with contacting these people about these jobs,
pretty amazing,
interviewing for them, whatever. And he said, "Mom, it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable at all. But it's
That's pretty wild, though,
but
man.
it's what you got to do if I'm going to do this." And so he still does it anyway. So that kind of goes back to that, your theme again, right? Yeah. Of in spite of whatever the obstacles are, you do what you got to do.
Yeah, I like that. I love that.
So it must be something he really wants to.
Yeah.
He has interest in. So that's pretty awesome.
Well, he's done a lot of reading and looking at stuff, and like I said, he's decided that there is a market for this. There's a lot, not in the case of the farm he worked for in Culpeper. There was the restaurants up in Northern Virginia who are looking for their that for these high-end restaurants where these people wanted that because of its health opportunities, but there's plenty of market for the meat for the people who can provide it, because it's very much a niche thing. So I don't know if he's going to eventually meet his dream of having his own ranch one day or running his own ranch one day and making millions in the bison world. But he's decided that this is the niche that he's interested in pursuing, and he's going for it. So
no, that's awesome.
No,
more power to that.
So we had a lady on here. She's a police officer. And it's just who you people I know. I mean, it makes it a little easier. But we've had business owners on here, and she's a Chesterfield officer now, but her and her husband, he's a firefighter. They own a small farm out in Dinwiddie County.
Yep.
Okay.
And they're going to start doing cattle, man. So we don't know, man. Maybe in a few years,
have some
your
bison.
son, have some bison. I mean, I'm being real. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Who the hell knows, man? Your son runs a pitch by him, because their goal is eventually someday just run their farm. And they're probably in there. What do you think? She's probably 28. Y'all graduated the same year, I think, maybe 30.
Yeah. She might be 30, but they both have full-time jobs outside of that.
Right.
And they have a full, I don't know what she said,
but
60 or 70 chickens.
But they're getting ready to start cattle. That's their next goal.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm saying is you never know.
That's the next notch up for sure. Do they have kids?
2 kids.
Yeah. Wow. Maybe 3 kids.
All right.
Maybe 3, yeah. But she's awesome, man.
Either they got a lot of energy or they drink a lot of caffeine.
Some people are just, I mean, if
a little bit of both.
You can see her and say, she don't, BS around. She's the real deal. And I knew that from the moment I saw her. She's and her husband must be too. Like I said, hey, tell your husband thanks for letting you come on the podcast, and that didn't go over too well.
She was like, no, it was my choice.
Right.
I was, because I'm old. I mean, we're old.
Right,
I'm like, hey, understand that, if Charlie's like, I'm going to go do a podcast with 2 guys, I'd be like, hey, who the hell are these guys?
Right.
What the hell is this about?
Right.
She's like, first of all, my husband doesn't tell me to do anything. It doesn't let me do anything. I'm like, hold it, back up. Everything's good.
Yeah.
I'm old, I didn't mean anything by it.
Right.
How much was I'm going to hold you too much longer, but how much was, so you were taught for how long? How many years total?
34.
Wow. Man.
Taught for 34 years, 27 of them at middle school.
Wow.
I mean, did you notice it? I mean, have you seen the changes in, like, obviously it may not have been much of a change. And not judging students, but I mean, just like the overall, the languages, the identifications, those kind of things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the last 10 years of my career, I saw just a whole lot of changes in education in general. Just a lot of things became a lot more difficult. Had it had things been the way they were my last 10 years when I first started, I don't know if I would have started.
You would have made it, yeah.
Yeah. But then like what you're talking about, I've been doing a lot of substituting, just in music. I don't go out and do general substituting, but I've been doing a fair amount of substituting. Actually, last spring I did a long-term sub gig, which 3 days a week instead of 5 days a week, but for a former colleague of mine who's, had some things going on with her family. She had to take FMLA, and so I headed up the band at one of the middle schools near me. But I'm getting off track. So anyway, point is I've been out in the schools a fair amount since I've been out on my own terms when I want to, and just doing music classes. But the things you're talking about, even just since COVID and just in the years since I've been out, the security levels that they've got to go through, all the metal detectors at all the points of entry, and the degree to which they're very careful checking your ID, and if you don't have the badge on when you're walking through the hall, somebody stops you and turns just things that we didn't have to do for the majority of my career. And yet, the thing that I don't know, the thing that still impresses me when I go out is it's so much more difficult to just do the job of trying to relate to the kids, and yet there are these people still out there just doing it with all their heart. They're giving it their best shot. They got all the posters they're supposed to have up on the wall. You got the go bag you're supposed to take in case there's a, whatever with all the rolls in it, so you can take roll when you get out there. Just crazy levels of things that you've got to think about other than
just being a teacher.
Just trying to do what you were, what concept it is you want to get across. And yet there's a lot of people still out there, giving it their best and doing a great job and making it work.
Yeah. No, my hat's off to teachers.
I'm not sure what you asked me originally and whether that answered it or not.
Yeah, I think
you
so.
were asking me about changes. So yeah. So I see. Yeah. So the answer is yes. I see all those changes. Yes, they're it makes me sad. It makes me angry what they've got to go through. It makes me frustrated that people don't support them more. But
yes,
there's still people out there doing it. God bless them. So
yeah, no, there's way more behind the scenes than what you think.
Oh yeah,
a teacher would do.
Oh yeah, no, it's crazy.
No, just what you're saying
it's just crazy.
Just for a fire drill.
Yeah, right.
It's you have to have your class roster. You have to have, like you said, the packet of stuff. You have to get outside, and it's just, you have to have everything ready to go.
Yeah,
and that has nothing to do with what you're you're trying to get across.
Well, that's where you got frustrated. Was you were we asked them to just do it 5 years because usually it takes about 5 years. If you're in a profession, it takes 5 years to really 3 to 5 years to know it. Learn it and be good at it at some level. You can always get better. I think every you learn the tricks of the trade, so to speak, but you can always improve. But at the 5th year, between breaking up fights and seeing all this other stuff, he was like, I just can't do it, man. I'm not speaking for you.
I understand.
No, I'm not saying the school I was in was a bad school at all, but it's just all schools have it where I was doing more disciplining than I was teaching for some classes, and I know especially with electives and band, choir, it's sometimes a dumping ground for kids who didn't sign up for things, and I would have kids, class of 20 kids, and 14 of them didn't sign up for band, and it's hard to run a class where you're
crazy.
And that started to change with the guidance counselors we had, and it got better. But at the same time, I was, like he said, I was one of the few males in that area of the school. So fights broke out. I was breaking up fights. If there was a search, I was called to the office to help search kids with drugs, weapons, whatever it was. And I was like, man, I know there has to be someone there to do that, but it's not really what I signed up for. And on top of that, then you have the stress of getting ready for assessment and your concerts and going on trips.
And you're supposed to make music too.
Yeah.
If you can. Good luck with that.
Yeah, it was all that combined with, me personally being stuck in a classroom 8 hours a day. I was just like, I'm very hands-on, and when an instrument would break, I would repair it, and I love that side of it, and the hands-on with beginning band. That's one of my favorite classes. Was
that's a fun year.
Yeah, and because of my last year, we had four beginning bands classes, and then my one intermediate and 2 advanced classes, and we had about close to 200 kids in 8th and 9th grade in band. So we had a pretty big program going, and my principal was like, he's I don't know what you're gonna do with these classes. And one class I had 42 kids in this tiny little room.
That's a lot.
We made it work. But that was the other thing I liked, being hands on, and like you said earlier, seeing the product that you fix and you make, and
not
having to depend on other people. And I don't know, you had gone to Bright Point one day and talked to the HVAC teacher there.
Yeah. So when I retired, I was like,
kind of stole your.
Yeah. So what happened to me was like, well, I mean, I don't want to take a lot of time with this, but I when I retired on a Friday, I had a job on a Monday because Shelly had already lined me up a job. That's a true statement.
Well played.
2 days of
retirement. Well played, Shelly.
And I can say this because you don't listen to the podcast. So anyway, so I did some security stuff and all that, and it actually worked because they paid for my school. I basically got my master's degree for like only paid like, I can't remember how much they covered, like 15 to 25%, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And this was an HCA employee, but anyway. So then I was getting out of the. Then I went to teach at the police academy, and I was like, I think I need to get out of this business,
Right.
And I was like, you know what? My dad was a tradesman. My stepdad was a firefighter, but my dad was a tradesman. I was like, I'm going to look at HVAC. So I go talk to the guy, and I'd missed the sign-up date, but then I told him about it. Is that what it was? Something happened.
Yeah, you said you talked to the teacher, and he said, it's different trade than any other because it's a little bit of electrical, a little bit of plumbing, a little bit of everything mixed in one.
Yeah, but I missed it. So he's like, you had to open nights or something. He goes, I'm going to sign up for this damn thing.
So in the spring, I took 2 classes, and
that was it.
Twice a week. And my assistant principal knew one of the ladies at Bradley and got me an interview Monday. He said, "We'll see you in June," and that's when I started.
Yeah. So his last. Yeah. So
I got hired in March.
So how many semesters did this take for you? How many?
I did 1 semester, 2 classes, just to get the complete
intro.
Basics of it. Yeah. And
but you're not done yet, though. You got.
Yeah. No. And so I got for the 2 classes, it was enough for me to get my EPA license, which is what you need to work with refrigerant
to get started. Right.
Yeah, you can't charge a system or remove refrigerant without your EPA license, and it's 3 levels. So I got the universal, so I could do commercial. I could do like level 1 is just like your refrigerator, small appliances, and so I got enough to get that. And so once I got hired in March, he said, "Yeah, finish the year. We'll be waiting for you in June." So I finished school we packed up our costumes on Friday. I went to Bradley on Monday.
Wow.
And
okay.
And the day 1, I figured, sit on a computer and do some training and stuff. He said, "All right, you're going with Ryan today." I got in a van and
hop in the truck and off you go.
Install an outdoor unit and running service calls.
All right.
Just straight hands on, and we have trainings every week, and a couple hours a week we'll learn low voltage stuff and this and that, but it was all hands on stuff all summer.
Yeah.
And luckily enough, I was like head on. I was like, I'm ready to learn. So the best guys wanted to have me on the truck, and then I just by October, I was in my own van, and here I am now. So
nice.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I really am loving it.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, the trades are a way to go, and if you have that skill set, not everybody can do it, but he's always been like that. He can kind of like pretty much do anything, but he's always real mechanical too. And he's like, I want to do this, and I don't know, but he's like, I want to be a mechanic first. He's like a little guy, and I'm like, you're gonna go to college first, then you can do whatever you want. Because in my family, my brothers and I were the first people to go to college, and all my father and his father before him were all tradesmen. So
Okay.
Yeah.
but that's when they had that background, or that's something to fall back on. So,
But I mean, teaching's taught me more than I think any job could, with patience and structure and organization and working with people. I mean, I see guys get frustrated with customers, and to me, it's just like,
you don't know
like, you
anything.
have no idea.
You don't know anything. Yeah, right. As far as dealing with people.
Yeah.
so I guess we're gonna. I think we're getting ready to wrap it up. Man, I don't know how long we've been going. I don't even know.
I don't know. I think it's still rolling. So I didn't check my phone when we started.
It don't matter. But my butt started hurting.
We're over an hour, that's for sure. We started sometime after 2.
Yeah. So is
Did
there any?
you change your clock?
I think that one's.
Did you set it ahead?
It's 3:47 right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I never set it back. Probably.
No,
It's been off for.
So
what goes around comes around.
that clock right there.
Sooner or later.
What is that? Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
That's what just came into my head. 100%.
So, my granny got that clock for me. She was so proud of that thing. She died. She lived to be 100. So
That's impressive.
she's a character, man. All right. So I mean, I guess he's going to ask you one question, but I mean, out of your years of teaching, does anything like an inspirational moment, or I mean, I'm sure you had a bunch, but I mean, is there anything that you would say, hey, this is what I got out of it, or something? That's kind of a hard question to answer.
Well, I think, I don't know. There's a lot of things that concern me and worry me. Like we talked a little bit about with teaching, but just even way beyond that. But I think I was trying to think a little bit earlier. If you asked me a question like that, what answer? And what I come back to, and even some things that that I've recently been reading and checking into. It's like if you keep on coming back to what might help solve some of these problems,
right.
What keeps popping up is community. And I know that's one thing we had talked about back before you even started this podcast,
Right.
years ago, and shooting messages back to each other on Facebook and whatever. Where,
Hey, but that's what he was expecting. I said, I'm not doing that.
Where you were not doing what?
I want to see some debating in here.
Oh, yeah. Well, but that was one of the things you mentioned was, you need to find a way for people to actually talk to each other. And I think that's, I mean, I don't know, because we haven't talked about it too much, but it seems like to me that's part of what you're trying to do with this. It's get different people out there, different voices out there.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's, and so, but I think even part of that too is community, but also closer to home community. And one of the things, when you were talking about all the problems in education out there, I think some of that, a lot of it comes from that there aren't shared values anymore. There's so many different people with so many different, and I don't think that's bad. I'm not saying that the diversity and the different belief structures, different value structures, I'm not saying that's wrong, but the problem is if there's no commonality, then all of a sudden the way I expect you to treat my kid is not necessarily the way you expect, and then all of a sudden nobody trusts anybody to do anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden you can't do anything as a teacher because anything you do is wrong because it's not how I would do it. Right.
Yep.
And that goes beyond education into so many other areas. But so what's the antidote to that? And I think maybe the antidote to that is if we get to know each other just on the local level, you and me talking to each other.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about this any number of times. When you get to know somebody personally, when I'm sitting here face to face from across from you, instead of shooting stuff across the screen, and we've all been guilty of that, and I know I certainly have. Plenty.
I have too, yeah.
But all of a sudden we don't feel the same way because we realize each other's, the things that we share in common more than the things that are different.
Oh, yeah.
And we acknowledge each other's humanity, and then we can start working together. So I don't have any answers.
But that was good.
To how to make that happen on a societal level when that is what's breaking down. But I think time and time again, where I see people coming to when they start looking for solutions to problems is how can we get to know each other again?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
On a local, personal, face-to-face level, whatever that is. So,
And we say it every time is, how often do you sit down and talk to somebody for an hour and a half?
Right.
Never.
With no distractions.
right.
Yeah, we love this, man. I mean, and I love listening to podcasts for that same reason too.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I listen to all kinds of. There's 4 or 5 people I listen to, and I listen to them because I do a lot of driving now. That's what I listen. I don't even listen to radio as much. I'm listening to a podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm getting educated. I mean, I've learned a lot of stuff. I feel like I've gotten it. I mean, going to school helped me, of course, learning how to learn and in college and everything else. But listen to the educated people talk. And particularly if they're experts, like whatever the topic is, and people are experts in everything in their own profession. But man, you learn so much, and they don't last 30 minutes or 15 seconds on the news blip. It's 3 hours, 2 hours, people talking, and you're like, damn,
Yeah.
that makes sense now.
Yeah.
You got to see somebody face to face. You see their humanity, and you realize, like, wait a minute, I can't talk like that to a person face to face because people aren't going to be like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? I used to say this in the academy, they would get pissed. I said, when everything matters, nothing matters.
Right.
Yeah. Everything's not doesn't hold the same level of importance as the other. So it's like, when everything matters, nothing matters because you can't pin it down.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. I'm not right, but anyway,
No, I like it.
I like it, man.
No, it's true. And it's just like what we were talking about with the, when you've got so many things that have to be done and so many things that have to be documented. And it's not just education, right? I mean, I see the same thing, the physical therapist and the occupational therapist and whatever, working with my dad. It's like, and they're spending so much time because they got to document all that stuff. And I get it. It's important and it's legal and it's lawsuits. But all the time you're spending doing all those things is time you're not spending with the doing what you actually need to be doing, which is helping the person in front of you, whether that's teaching or
occupational therapy,
or fixing the air conditioning, or helping their balance, better. And it's that minutia is taking over everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, so I got no answers to that. It's like I told you earlier. It's like I don't have any answers. If you want any answers out of me, I'm fresh out. But
no,
anyway.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think it was smart.
Well, we got the normal question. If you were on your last meal, what would your choice be if you were on
spaghetti a la Greek from Joe's Inn, specifically the one on Shields. Not Bon Air. It's not bad, but it's a little different. Okay. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know what that says about me. I'm not a big high-end fancy dish, but spaghetti a la Greek, all that feta, all that marinara. That's one of my favorite meals. That's still where I go for birthday.
Joe's Inn.
Yeah. Shields.
Still has all the Dolphins memorabilia up in there. Don't they have Miami Dolphins stuff in there?
I think that's over on the bar side.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I used to be at the bar. I think.
Sometimes we can't get seated on the restaurant side, and they seat us over there. So yeah, I think the Dolphin stuff is still up.
Yeah. That place has been there a long time, man.
Yeah,
and it's still great, eh?
I'd love it. I love it.
All right, last question. Do you ever listen to Jordan Peterson?
No.
Okay.
Wait, you're talking. Okay, for a second, I thought you were talking about a musician, Jordan Peterson, the psychologist. Yeah. Right. I have listened to some of his stuff. Yeah. You posted some things. I have. Yeah. I've done some listening. He's got a lot of great thoughts for sure. I should probably listen to him more.
Yeah. Once you get over the media blitz on him. We're actually going to go see him in person, but I think you really like
coming around here. No, what I've heard, he's super intelligent. He's got, he makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I should go out and I, not just you, a couple of my other folks I know have recommended. And like I said, I've gone and he's got a lot. It goes on a long.
He talks.
I just don't have as much stamina as I used to for reading or listening to a long. So I'm not sure who's going to listen to me, but that's okay.
Well, yeah.
But no, he. I need to go back and do some more because everything he says, he makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's coming to the Altria in May. Is that
I
what
think
we're doing?
I don't know who I thought you were talking about. I think I heard George Strait or something in my mind when you said George. I thought you said George, and then you said I was like, he's talking about that famous country. Oh wait, no, he's not.
Yeah, some people don't like him. Some people don't like him at all. But I think
No, I got.
yeah, he's got a fourth book coming out now. That's what this tour is about coming up. It's called We Who Wrestle with God. But
Where is he? I mean, is he coming to the Richmond area?
yeah. This is the first time he's come to Richmond, I think.
Okay.
We've seen him. Shelly and I have seen him twice. She
Does
just
it
goes.
be like at the Altria or
Yeah.
something? Okay.
Yeah, Shelly just go. Well,
When is that?
May something. Maybe we'll get tickets, but yeah,
End of May, I think.
May 8th, maybe later. I can't remember. But yeah, we saw him in Charlotte, and then we met. Yeah, in Norfolk. Shelly goes just to go.
Yeah.
She's like, "Why are we here again?"
She goes to humor you.
Yeah.
And you go to humor her for things.
yeah,
So it all works out.
She's like the eye candy for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This time it'll be the boys though. I'm going with.
Okay.
I'm taking my two sons. Yeah.
Nice.
My son-in-law. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I was with you.
All right. So we give everybody this cup on the hill, and we got a few business cards in there. So
Okay.
if you need more,
That's a nice coffee mug there.
Yeah, man.
I like that.
Yeah. You
So-
can take home and enjoy.
I'll put my tea in it.
There you go.
I'm not a big coffee drinker. That just makes me wired and tired. But I do plenty of hot tea.
I don't do coffee either. so.
It's
yeah.
Wired and
the
tired.
acid. These lately here,
Yeah.
I got
Yep.
something going on here. I got to have a endoscopy next week. In fact, so
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to.
I need one done,
trying
too.
to keep the acid at bay. So coffee, no thanks.
Getting
Put my
old.
hot tea in there, buddy. Yeah, no,
Getting old ain't no
it's
joke.
no joke. It's no joke. Getting old.
It ain't for the faint of heart.
It's not for the sissies. It's not. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
been-
Thank you,
It's
man.
been nice.
Thank
I've
you.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you find your podcasts, and this video will be on YouTube. It'll be going out pretty soon. So
All right.
we enjoy having you on.
All right.
Yes. And look, no bullshit. I've always admired you, man.
I appreciate that.
I knew the influence you
Right
had
back
on,
at you.
Yeah, on our
You've
kids.
raised two great kids.
Yeah, not just Eric. I mean, Megan too. I mean,
Two great kids.
Yeah, she loves
Absolutely.
you. Yeah, she loves you too, man. I was hoping maybe she might be over here today, but you'll be able to see Shelly at least.
She's
yeah.
got more important things, moments. That little baby's taking her time, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I do appreciate you, man, for real. Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to On the Hill. Like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts. See ya.